Right, the technology stopped me in my strides when I was discussing Stephen's music and colours. So 10 minutes later, I've just noticed the computer had turned off and I was in full flow. So I have to retrace my steps because I don't want to miss any pearls that I managed to conjure from my brain and love of the music of Stephen Duffy. This is part 2, therefore. And I realised that I had a copy of this one. This is his first album, or an anthology, a collection from the 2 first albums. Is it? No, this is his first album, isn't it? You know, even though I love his music, I can't count myself as an absolute fan because I missed out on those early years of being a fan. So all I do now is appreciate all the albums. Having said that, I haven't got Run Out Groove, and I haven't got the last one, that Dance Till All the Stars Fall Down. The reason I haven't bought that one was I heard the first 2 singles, played them a lot, saw how short the album was, and decided to save my pennies. Now, what kind of fan does that to Stephen Duffy? Well, I'll tell you what kind of fan. A realist. Because the album was so sparse, I said, well, I'm going to take my time with it. I'm going to savour every moment. So when I heard the band that nobody knew, I realised that was an absolute... Well, when you watch the video, you see the graphics, and you realise what a classic song that is. And that's sufficient. That'll do me for 2 years. It's probably the most beautiful thing you've ever heard, because it makes sense of what we've been trying to discuss already in part 1, was why they're better off underachieving. So when you hear The World at Large Alone, the last track on this, you realise the deep cuts, which are complete progressive pop anthems. And I can't wait to hear it, because I heard it last when I was probably just 20 years ago. I haven't listened to that song properly for 20 years. I can't remember Believe in Me, Be There, The Darkest Blues I know is a classic. Icing on the Cake, well, everyone knows that song. It's the Style Council before the Style Council. Wednesday Jones, the Dixieland Jazz. But Is It Art? Can't remember that. Masterpiece, can't remember that. She Makes Me Quiver, yeah, fine. And Kiss Me. So, a very beautiful collection, but is it art? Well, of course it is. But he managed to survive the art of noise, you see. That's the depth of Stephen Duffy. With all this technology and Dr. Calculus, which I didn't purchase because I didn't know it existed, the very fact that he formed the Lilac Time in the shadows of shimmering technological dance computerized drum machines, that shows the essence of Stephen, doesn't it? Stephen Duffy now, doesn't it? It shows that he loved music and he loved Nick Drake. And nobody loved Nick Drake in 1986. No one in the music business did. No. And that's what I like about Stephen Duffy, is that he goes against the grain. He swims against the tide. He is a salmon. He lays his eggs. The eggs are on my lap. Now this one, all the fans say, oh yes, this one's the best. This is the debut album by the Lilac Time. I had a 12-inch single before getting this album. Guess what the song was? The song was Black Velvet. And because it was on 12-inch vinyl, when I played it, I can still feel the electrical sparks from stylus to vinyl, just bringing my heart to life, because it was resplendent in reverb and acoustic guitar, which I'd never heard its like before. It was immense. And then this beautiful, beautiful vocals. Now, when we mention early Duffy vocals, right, Tin vocals, he has written or said in the press one stage in an interview that he had to have singing lessons, and he sorted his vocals out. And I was listening to Dreaming of Astronauts yesterday, and there's a little bit of that in one of the choruses. He goes a little bit flat, and it's always bugged me. But I heard the live version of Dreaming for 30 seconds on my phone yesterday, and that's another reason when I'm doing this. I'm so excited to hear that live stuff, but I haven't got round to getting to the shop because I thought, no, I'm going to savour this insecurity, this tension between will I be able to get a copy or not of the 3 LPs. And I have complete, because I know that he found me in my life when I was going through divorce, and I followed him round to Liverpool and Kidderminster and London. I know that the deluxe, whatever, reissue, remastered, will find me one day, but I'm not panicking. I'm not going to go out and pay loads of money for it. I know it'll land on my lap, the same as these albums have landed on my lap. So this is the Lilac Time first album, and to be honest with you, I still haven't got to grips with it, but such was the impact of Black Velvet and the B-sides. Now where let me show you those. There it is. The B-sides were Black Dawn and Tiger Tea, and I was going through traumatic times. Jackie leaving and Stephen Duffy kept me a little bit too morose and dark and disillusioned, but they actually gave me a lot of comfort by following them around. I followed Jackie as well. I didn't follow him, of course. I went out to see him live. Wasn't heckling him or anything, although I did welcome him to Clubby Vorbach. Jackie now this is, not Stephen. I did heckle Stephen once in Liverpool when I shouted out, play the one with the flute, and he said, this is called the girl of the year. And I said, pull your flute out, mate, and everyone laughed. Well, the 12 people who were in the audience. And at that time, of course, he was being a loud electric rock star, and he was great because their band was tight. They had a female bass player and a good guitarist who were, of course, trying to replicate Velvet Crush, the Velvet Crush sound of the Duffy album. But we're going ahead of ourselves now, getting ahead of ourselves. You've Got to Love is the debut album as well. Now, I'd heard this song on the radio and I liked it, but the name, the Lilac Time, hadn't transferred into my consciousness. Only the beauty of the tunes, which I'm sure I saw him on number 73, Kids TV, 86. I was 21 years old, 20 years old. Railway Bazaar and trumpets from Montparnasse, or however you say it. I've got these, you see, from, I didn't go out and find this 12-inch. It found me in a record store in Llandudno, second hand. That's £2 for this. Worth every penny, because it was an extended mix, wasn't it? Different from the album. And something about the bristling of 12-inch records. And I've got this Lilac Time Dreaming promotional copy on Creation. Marvellous. Now then, Boyce Bach, I've just seen something. The words Bed of Roses. You see, it's not only the fantastic A-side singles, but it's the unreleased B-sides which really, really captivated me. It's these songs, these B-side songs, have followed my life and have given me so much reflection and a knowingness that I am not on my own going through traumatic life experiences. Personal ones, yes, not major, I could go back to Genesis when I was 14 in hospital, bleeding for 2 months. And please don't ask, if you hear that song, never tell me that isn't a Genesis song. If someone tells me that's a Phil Collins song, well, I heard it when I was on my hospital bed on the radio being played and that was a Genesis song. It didn't sound like Phil Collins because Phil Collins hadn't recorded like that. He hadn't had a full band sound. Here we go. Hold on, the phone's saying something. What's it saying? It's saying something which is irrelevant to this video. So Bed of Roses is the story of my battle, not with internal bleeding now, because that was 15 years later. I was in another battle, and Bed of Roses, which funnily enough sounds relatively similar to the band that nobody knew. And not many Duffy fans know that. But we people who treasure the delicate, brittle melodies and lyrical angst know when Stephen is reflecting or echoing those same songs. Tell you what though, what a fantastic Kid Jensen hit on radio was All for Love and Love for All was. Absolutely immense. And the production of it, although dated now, admittedly it's dated, but what a song it was at the time. And I remember thinking I must buy that one, but I never got round to it. Do you know why? Because the Lilac Time as a group, its name, the Style Council is something concrete. You can relate to style and you can relate to a council. But the Lilac Time is more conceptual. It's more of a dreamy, poetic thing, isn't it? And so for a hyperactive teenager like me, it probably didn't have enough bite to it. It was probably a bit too Sylvia Plath. And let's not forget, right, all the references on the cover of this 12-inch single. Okay? Let's not forget. Let's go through them, because it's a good Lilac Time quiz. I don't know who Henry Thoreau is. Robin Williams, I know. Robin Williams' son. My old friend Lawson Dando played with the Incredible String Band, and he was a founder member, Robin Williamson. So we got, who's this? Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Fine. Eileen Ginsberg. Oh, Allen Ginsberg. Joni Mitchell. And of course, I can't jump from there to there now, from heart to heart, without saying the words alternative tuning. Because once you realise that Stephen was copying Joni's alternative tuning, or you're at least doing dad gad, but using that skill in a pop context as opposed to a folk context, because to me these are pop songs. Even the acoustic ones, they're pop songs. They're urban, but in a pavilion of a cricket pitch. Derek Taylor, Arthur Rimbaud, George Trevelyan, Nick Drake, Tom Paine, Gertrude Stein, Tony Daly was an Aston Villa striker with short dreadlocks. That's a brilliant reference, you see. That is just so brilliant. The fact that Stephen loves Aston Villa Football Club is brilliant when he stands to watch him. And the fact, ever since I saw this album, right, the album, have I shown you that yet? No, I haven't shown you the album yet. But the album, and Love for All, has pictures of Stephen inside, and his parents look so loving. And there's always been this, not ambiguity, but an echo of scriptural upbringing, where I know that there's a battle being in the 40s. Okay, the wars, picture of his dad and dressed up in uniform, I think. But I've always sensed a spiritual battle going on.